The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Well, the book of Genesis included a giant flood. Anyway, talking about the markets, joining us now is Jodie Gunzberg, CoinDesk Indices Managing Director. Good morning, Jodie.
Good morning.
So to sort of briefly introduce to everybody, in case they didn't know what the digital asset classification standards, the DAX, which CoinDesk Indices had created, you divide the entire crypto market into 6 sectors. And the one sector that seems to be outperforming the others is, shockingly, currencies. The interesting thing about that is the FTX token is in that index, is in that group, and yet it's outperformed everything else. What is going on?
That's a great question, and looking into it makes me wonder if there's not a red flag that we might have been able to spot. So, as you mentioned, there's the digital asset classification standard, and that is a qualitative exercise meant to assign the top 500 assets to industries. And the FTT token is ranked in the top 25. I think it's number 22. And it's assigned to the transparent CeFi currency industry, which is inside of the currency sector. Sure enough, when I heard about FTT, I thought, well, what's the impact on the indices? And I looked into our CoinDesk Market Index, which is our broadest index that's meant to represent the digital asset landscape. And what it does is it takes the assets from DAX and applies a minimum eligibility criteria. Basically, we just need 30 days of historical pricing on 2 exchanges and market cap weighted. Sure enough, FTT never made it into the CoinDesk Market Index. It didn't have the available pricing. So it never met that eligibility criteria. And during the month, therefore, the currency sector held up best out of all of the sectors. And in fact, it's the only sector that outperformed the broad market index, the CoinDesk Market Index. So, understanding that there's this massive token that was assigned but never passed the eligibility criteria might make investors think, why not?
So when we look at that chart you're showing here, this is and to note that 14-something% that's negative. All these sectors are down for the month, but it looks like they're all going together. It looks like generally speaking, they're all within a band. If you step back, my eyesight's pretty poor, so as far as I'm concerned, it's just one line. What is that telling us about the general market right now in terms of correlations and the like?
It says a couple of things. So first of all, the correlations between the sectors spiked massively this month. They were at about 0.6. Digitization was about 0.4 to the other sector. So there was lots of diversification benefit had by diversifying across the sectors. And
that's a 30-day correlation, or?
Yeah, that's a 30-day correlation. So if you took the 30-day correlation at the beginning of the month, before this all went down, we were looking at correlations that were fairly moderate. And now, after what's happened, the correlations across the board have spiked above 0.9. So it's essentially eliminated the diversification benefit. However, the spread has still remained wide. So that minus 14.5% that we saw before, that's about 3% more than the CoinDesk Market Index. And then it's about 10% more than digitization, which was the worst performing sector. So with a 10% spread, you can get some alpha opportunity by going, say, long the currency index and short the digitization. And again, there's also a lot of volatility here, which can lead to other trading opportunities.
All right, Jodie, so just sort of turning to kind of future here, what are you looking out for? I mean, looking from some of the data that you kind of look at every day, what are some of the things I mean, there's a lot of rumors right now out there, obviously, in crypto. People are waiting for the next shoe to drop. I'm just curious what you see the near-term future looking like, given the data that you have.
Until now, I really focused on what's inside of the indices. I never turned my attention so much towards what's not in the indices. And now it's making me question what other very large tokens are by market cap that are coming through, getting assigned into industries, which we heard was so important. We just heard from Chris how they think about how the use cases of assets are important for investing. And looking at what gets assigned is different than what actually makes it in. And with the CoinDesk Market Index having, again, I mean, it's meant to be the kitchen sink index of crypto. It just needs pricing availability on 2 eligible exchanges. And if only 162 tokens out of 500 are making it in, it may be understandable for some of the smaller tokens, but FTT was ranked in the top 25. It's the second largest in transparent CeFi currency industry. Why didn't it have the available pricing? Could it have been that it's tied up on a balance sheet that's made it illiquid? Maybe, maybe somebody would have looked at that. So I think I would shift my attention maybe towards those gaps in the data, like what's getting classified, what's getting into the CoinDesk Market Index, and then taking it a step further, we have a CoinDesk Select methodology, which is an investable index methodology that has even stricter criteria than the CoinDesk Market Index. So what's the difference between an asset that we can just understand the use case, an asset that we can price and calculate, and then an asset that we can actually invest in with custodial requirements, tighter eligibility criteria, more exchanges required that pass, certain tests that I think that's where I would focus more now. That's
Jodie, just to follow up really quickly on something you just mentioned, do you think it's time maybe to question how much importance we ascribe to market cap? Because that seems to be one of the problems here. And I think there's just been questions about what does market cap even mean, right? I mean, I think that seems to be one of the issues with data right now.
I think that's a great question. And I think understanding what is market cap, circulating supply, what is the relevance in the analogy to equities? These are great questions. And because market cap has been a well-accepted metric for measuring the market for equities, it seems like it's made its way into crypto, but maybe that's not the best metric. I don't know if it's the most representative metric. It certainly does say something, though, if a coin is having a large market cap, which, by the way, can be variable by your sourcing, and it doesn't have the prices. What does the market cap mean anyways?